What's going on, everybody? This your boy Doc Holiday. We're back with another HBCU OverDrive live show. If you haven't done it by now, please make sure that you like, comment, share, and most of all, subscribe to the hottest channel that's covering HBCU sports all day, every day. Make sure that you hit that notification bell to get everything HBCU OverDrive. And it is a good Monday. Everybody knows what's going on with as far as Monday goes. It's Halloween, so it's spooky season today. Uh, I'm not going to have this show to be long because I am going to be family. But other than that, man, I'm going to go ahead and start it off and introduce my guest. His name, we already know who he is. Everybody know who he is. It's my guy, Carl Reed from 24/7 Sports. Welcome, man.
Thank you for having me, man. It's good to be here, Doc, on your platform.
All right, thank you. Like I said, I told people that I was going to have you on the platform, and most of it is basically I was going to ask a couple of questions and then trying to go into an actual review of from last week. But the first thing is everybody's seen what happened this past weekend, especially today, with Auburn firing their head coach, Brian Harsin. I don't know why. I don't know why they was pulling teeth to try to get rid of him. I felt like he wasn't a great fit for Auburn for their program. Who do you think is tops on the list as far as coaches coming in? And I think that is it true they don't have an AD right now, right?
They actually just hired the AD on Sunday, and so when they had the AD in place, they fired Brian Harsin the very next day, and so they everybody's kind of known for a while that Harsin wouldn't be back, but they did want to give the AD the opportunity to make that decision, for himself and kind of go after the guy that he wants to go after and run the search in the way he wants to run. So Auburn does have an AD in place now. They brought over Jack Cohen, the AD from Mississippi State.
Okay.
And then they met with Coach Harsin early this morning and let him go.
Okay. So yeah, everybody's seen, the usual suspects. You got Hugh Freeze is one suspect, and then you also have Matt Rule, who also he got taken out by the Carolina Panthers, which I felt like that wasn't a good fit for them either, as far as on the pro level. Who else do you think is? I don't know everybody's going to say Coach Prime, but I know he said in interviews that he's not going to be crazy to not entertain to entertain those calls right there. But who are the other ones that you see that is going to be fielding calls from Auburn and and the likes of like Georgia Tech and Nebraska?
Well, I mean, you just named three schools that have three completely different situations in terms of what they're looking for in a coach, and also their ability in their pool in order to pull a coach. Let's start with Auburn. If you're gonna go with Auburn, the top two guys on Auburn's list right now are Lane Kiffin and Deion Sanders. And that can't be ignored. I know that the HBCU fans and people get really upset every time Coach Prime's names comes up in a coaching search or connected to a job. I don't understand why it's such a sensitive topic, because reality does have to set in at some point. He also, in terms of what's going to happen in the future and the way that the system of college football itself works. But he's definitely in the mix there.
Okay.
There's an interest from Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech probably is more interested in him than he was in them, because Georgia Tech can be a difficult school academically for recruits to navigate.
Right.
And then when you talk about Nebraska has a lot of history. They got a lot of guys with Midwestern roots. guys like Lance Leipold at Kansas, guys like Dave Duran, that's the coach at NC State. He's a Midwestern guy. You know, they can pick. But I think when you're talking about HBCU football, you have to unpack the conversation that Dion is one of the hottest coaches on the market. And he's going to be in the conversation for anybody that's in the market for hiring a football coach. And that's the reality of the situation.
Right. So I know some of my people was asking me, they want me to ask you that question because they, I'm like, man, look, I'm looking at, I look at your show, I watch the show, and I'm like, nah, he's not a hater. I just feel like he's telling the hard truth. Some things we gotta need. I'm a Jackson State alum. I'll just let you know I'm a Jackson State alum. Do I want Coach Sanders to go? No, but in the reality, I know that he's gonna go. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but in a couple of years.
Let's address something though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where's the hate? Well, like when people say I'm hating, like that's goofy to me, right?
I feel you.
And that's only black people do that. You know what I mean? Like when we talking about hate, what's hating? When you a coach at an FCS level school and you win, you move up, and that's the game. That's whether you at a black school or a white school. The best FCS program in the country has been North Dakota State. Can we agree on that? They've won 7 out of the last 8 national championships.
Yep.
Craig Bowl was the original coach who won the first 3. Then he got the job at the University of Wyoming, right?
And then it was Chris Kleiman.
And Chris Kleiman, and he won 3. And now he's the head coach at Kansas State. And now the current coach has won 2. And guess what? He's going to leave also. Jim Tressel, legendary Ohio State coach,
was at
Youngstown State, right? Paul Johnson, legendary coach at Georgia Tech, was at Georgia Southern.
Yep.
It ain't got nothing to do with black or white. It's just the game. You when you win at that level, then the next thing for you is to move up. And so for people to say it's hey, they don't want black people to have nothing. It don't have nothing to do with that, right? It's the simple fact that he's winning at a large clip. And when you win the way he's won, and when you recruit the way that he has recruited, it puts you on the radar to move up. Now, what Jackson State needs to be prepared to do is they need to be prepared to replace him so they can keep their run going. Because he's going to leave, okay? Whether it's this year or next year, that's the longest you're going to get out of him. He's leaving. So we can stop all of the hate and this is no, you just have to prepare yourself for another job. It's example, all of the mid-major powerhouse programs, that's just what it is. And it's not a knock on Jackson State. Jackson State is a great school. I'm very familiar with the 2-time SWAC player of the year, Quill Glass, played for me in high school. So I've had 11 kids play at HBCUs. My son played at Bethune-Cookman. So that's not Terry Sims, the coach at Bethune-Cookman, was my college coach at Austin Peay. So let's not get into that.
So it's for you, it's a whole 6 degrees of separation for you because of the connections that you have. Now, now we get to I understand. And I feel like you're not a hater. It's it's your job. It's your job in the media to actually report the truth. And I kind of understand that. So with that being said, as far as with the weekend review, man, like last week, we saw a lot of surprises, especially coming out of the MEAC, and a couple of games that came out of the SWAC that, some teams just surprised me. The one team that surprised me this past weekend was Morgan State going South Carolina State coming into Morgan State and Morgan State beating them handily.
Yeah, I think that everybody was kind of knowing that South Carolina State would win that pretty easily. Most people thought that, and they've been anticipating a rematch between South Carolina State and Jackson State in the Celebration Bowl.
Yeah.
But when you look at football, man, there's no guarantees in football. You can lose at any time. You got to be able to be prepared from week to week to come in and play. That's actually a good momentum win for Morgan State as they look to rebuild their program.
Right. And I don't think, with them hiring Damian Wilson, even though it sucked, and I said this, that they hired him so late, like in the summer after the recruiting cycle had started, had finished up. If you give him at least 2 or 3 recruiting cycles at Morgan State, then you will see Morgan State being back on top.
Damian Wilson is a beast in the coaching profession. Unbelievable recruiter, unbelievable coach, program builder, and I think that he's going to also be in a position in years to come where he's going to get some opportunities to experience some other things as well.
Okay. And then I've always say this. I say this every time I'm on the show when I do my preview show and I do my picks. I always say I will never pick Howard ever again. Basically, what they showed me in the me at SWAC Challenge earlier this season, but the way that they have been playing for the last couple of weeks, they have been turning out to be actually kind of like a good team in the MEAC. What do you think as far as with their momentum, it will be with them as far as with Howard and the MEAC? Because I know right now they're sitting at 2-0 in the MEAC.
I think that they hired a good football coach in Larry Scott, a guy that's been a lot of places and done a lot of things. Coach Hargraves is running his defense, so I'm not surprised that they're having some success. They're guys who've had a ton of experience recruiting. They've had a ton of experience being successful. I'm just really impressed with the staff they hired. And Howard is one of those places that if you get it going, it can be trouble for people. So I think that they're going to be a real force to be reckoned with in the MEAC.
And everybody's been talking about the top of the MEAC, which would be North Carolina Central. Even though they did take their loss to South Carolina State last week, they are still prime. To me, they are still primed to actually win the MEAC out and to be the representative in the Celebration Bowl. But I'm not going to say anything as far as it's over with and they're done. But to be the top now, they have to play Howard this coming weekend, and that will determine. To me, I feel like that's the game that will determine who gets to represent the MEAC in the Celebration Bowl. What do you think about as far as quarterback play for Central with Davius Richard?
Well, he's been doing a good job for them offensively. And what people don't realize about North Carolina Central, they have one of the best campuses and best facilities, that is out there right now. And they in prime recruiting real estate. That North Carolina, that Carolina area, the closeness that you had to Georgia, the closeness that you had to Tennessee, and that's another group that has a great staff in place. And so Kevin Maurice, their running backs coach, is a guy that I've known for a long time. My goddaughter actually plays basketball now for North Carolina Central.
Okay.
Just real excited about it. Quill Glass's sister works on the recruiting department for North Carolina Central. A lot of people don't know that. That's a little no. So it's a school that I like to see have a ton of success in that area, and I expect big things out of them.
Okay, so now I'm gonna switch it over to the SWAC now. So I really don't want to talk about Texas Southern, even though I feel like they played this high school team called Lincoln University out of California. It's a homecoming game, but I feel like to me that the offensive coordinator for Texas Southern needs to kind of pretty much you got a whole 8 games with Andrew Body. Like you should have been turned up the playbook and let him loose. Like you have to let him work.
What do you feel
Uh,
like they not letting them do that they should be letting them do though?
right. What you seen last season, even though yes, nobody didn't have tape on him from last season because he was a true freshman. I understand now because he's a sophomore and everybody got that, you know what I'm saying, got that film on him. I feel like I feel like the offensive coordinator is holding him back a little bit.
You know, one thing that I've learned in the game since I was a coach myself is when you're not in the locker room and when you're not in the the meeting rooms, sometimes those coaches are letting the kid do all that they feel like they can handle at the moment. And since we're not in those conversations and in those meetings and at practice, I don't know if I would go as far as to say that they holding them back, but you never know.
Right. Then you got FAMU playing Pine Bluff. Um, Pine Bluff is still trying to get that first win, and playing since the Oklahoma State loss, they're back on that. To me, they're back on that snide, like they're tail spinning out of control because of the fact that I'm looking at it like, okay, we seen this act before last season. They won the first two games and then they played against Alcorn and then everything fell from under them. So now back again, they played the first two games. They won the first two games. Uh, even though it's against, I wouldn't say mediocre competition because Lane College is actually a good school in the D2 division. But and everybody knew when they played Oklahoma State they was gonna lose. I was like, get your money, come back home, prepare for the next game. But it seemed like when he got into the SWAC play, like everything just fell off from the bottom. And we realized that something had to change, so they let go Doc Gamble 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Do you have any type of any information as far as what Pine Bluff is trying to do as far as with a head coach search? Because I know Don Treadwell, he's actually a good coach. He's actually good, been around the game for a while, being a coordinator, and him taking over for Michigan State when D'Antonio was sick. I heard some people are trying to get him to be the head coach. Who do you think should be able to be what type of coach that Pine Bluff needs for this team right here to move forward?
They need to understand that Pine Bluff needs a coach that can recruit in the state of Arkansas and be able to go into Mississippi and Louisiana as well. And they also need a guy who can probably do a little more with less, because Pine Bluff doesn't seem to have everything that some of the other schools have, but they do have a history. I know when Lee Hardeman was the coach that there was some success there. And, they've been trying to recapture some of that, since he's been gone and since he's been out of there. So I'm interested to see what direction they're going with the coach because I honestly don't know. It's something they've been keeping the information really close to the vest. But I do think that it's a job that you can have some success with because you're in some prime recruiting territory. It's some great high school football, within a 4 to 6 hour radius of Arkansas Pine Bluff. And so I think that if you get the right guy in there, then some special things could happen for the Lions.
Michael Head gave me a question for you. He said, speaking of head coaches, who you think else is on a hot seat in the SWAC?
I don't really know because I don't know everybody's contract situation. The SWAC doesn't make the contracts available the same way that everybody else does, kind of on the open record. So when you look at other programs, you can the buyouts a little bit and the length of the contract. So I would say in general, any coach who don't win is in trouble.
Right.
And so I don't care if you coach in middle school. If you coach in middle school and you don't win, they're gonna want you out of there. So if you're not winning, then you got problems.
Somebody was saying like Coach Manning was on the hot seat earlier. I guess because of his comments that he said about him only winning, coaching to win SWAC games, because he didn't too much care about the out of conference games. But I feel like, and the crazy thing is they just signed him to an extension. That's the crazy thing. If with him having the season that he's having right now. But I don't know who other than with Texas Southern and Clarence McKinney and with Terry Sims, but at Bethune, but with Coach Sims, it's just the thing about the resources with him, and with Texas Southern, it's like if you're not recruiting in Houston, if you're not recruiting in the greater Houston area, or if you're not going out to like San Antonio or to Austin or even up to Dallas or going into parts of Louisiana and East Texas, then you're going to be on the hot seat for real. You're going to be on the hot seat for real. Like that's just when it comes with Texas Southern and me being here in Texas, being in Dallas, like
I don't think you can recruit like that at Texas Southern. And I'm gonna tell you why. And the Texas high school football is so big. Their stadiums that they playing in high school are nicer than the facilities Texas Southern has.
Yes, they are.
And so when you go into those high schools in Houston and Dallas and San Antonio, those kids don't take Texas Southern seriously. At a place like Texas Southern, you got to have a foothold on junior colleges. You got to have a foothold on the transfer portal, and maybe some out-of-state kids, because I can tell you college coaches all across the country will tell you how tough it is sometimes with some of those Texas kids because of the facilities that they are accustomed to having in high school. Man, when they go to a place like Texas Southern, they're not too excited about it.
And then I got another question about Unstoppable. It says, what is going to take to turn around Mississippi Valley football? What is going to turn them around? Because they're trying everything to turn the program around. What do you feel like? I guess they're saying, what do you feel like they need to do? What else do they need to do to turn around the program?
Number one, they need to address their facilities.
Yes.
Which are really, really low grade and low level. Number two, they need to address their scholarships because they're not working with the full 63 scholarships that the other FCS teams are working with. So how can they be competitive when they're working with a significantly less amount of scholarships than their peers? And so until they allow them to get the scholarship limit to the way they need it, they won't have a chance to be successful, in my opinion.
Okay. And somebody said like the worst thing they have to do is to drop down to Division II.
That might potentially be a better move for them financially. They might can handle the 36 scholarships just fine in some places, or in some situations that might put them in a situation where they can compete better. So that might be something for them to consider.
All right, my boy Sean Phillips. He said, you, man.
Sean, my guy, man. Sean, my guy. We're gonna now listen to this before I answer this question. I gotta get. He's arguably one of the best Madden players in the country.
He asked me he wanted me to ask you that.
He's arguably one of the best Madden players in the country. I do gotta give him that.
But he had a question. He said, "Who you think to be the next big recruit to choose Jackson State from Missouri or to transfer in?"
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know because I didn't know that Kevin Coleman was going. You know, I've known Kevin Coleman since he was a little kid, and I didn't know he was about to pick Jackson State at the Army All American game, and I was there. You know, so the whole situation in terms of recruiting, I think that Dion has the relationships to pull any recruit. They
Right.
came down to the wire. Miles McVay from here picked the University of Alabama, but it came down to the wire between Alabama and Jackson State. So I do
Woo.
know that Prime has been he been big game hunting. You know, he been going after some real big fish. You know, and so I'll be interested to see what happens down the stretch.
Man. And I got a question for you. And I know it's some people have been talking about this, but the situation at Alcorn and with Coach McNair.
I could barely hear you. I don't know what you just
Oh,
did.
my bad. I said the situation at Alcorn with Coach McNair. Um, I just feel like with him is more of he's not getting the necessary things coming into him from the school. Um, and I think that's part of why he's blowing. You know, he blew up and said that he wasn't gonna get on. He wasn't gonna do the radio show anymore. Um, to me, what do you think? I mean, like, what do you think about that as far as with some things going on at Alcorn?
When you have a relationship the way the McNair family has with a school, and things don't seem to be going well, it can become a very difficult thing for both sides to deal with. It can become very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
It could be for both sides. It could There's expectations that may not be being met on both sides, and so I just hope that they're able to sit in the room and work it out and come into an agreement with each other, because there's nothing more synonymous with Alcorn State than the McNair name, when it comes to football and athletics. So
Yeah.
I just hope that they can come to a peaceful resolution on their differences, man, because in the end of the day, when you're an old man, you're gonna want to be able to go to your school, and family is everything. And sometimes, we fall out with people over things that aren't as important as what it seems, when we look back on it. So I hope that they're able to sit in the room, man, and get on the same page.
So my guy Brian, he's one of my co-hosts on my for my podcast. He asked, he want to ask you, does he think about do you think about some of the 5 stars going into the portal from Texas, who are willing to go to an HBCU?
Well, so far, those guys haven't went in the portal yet. So, that's just a rumor in terms of that. I do expect for several of them to go into the portal,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that some of them are going to have still some big NIL money at some other places. And so I still anticipate the majority of those kids staying at the Power Five level. I
Okay.
do I do think that Dion has a couple of ends with some of the kids that could put him in position at Jackson State. But I think that realistically, that's the only situation that I could see.
Okay. And I got a couple of questions. So Saturday, everybody seen college game day coming into Jackson State, coming into Jackson, Mississippi. It was a big thing for the state of Mississippi, a big thing for both uh, Jackson State and Southern University. Cause let's not forget, even though yesterday was in Jackson, it was another team that was still playing that Saturday, that Southern, to put both schools on the map and to put HBCUs on the map. Do you think college game day can actually come to more HBCUs instead of waiting um, that long of a time between 2008 from to now, do you think they should be able to go to like a HBCU once a year or twice a year? What do you think about that?
No, I don't think that. Because I understand how it works. For example, this year college game day for the first time in school history went to the University of Kansas, right?
Mm,
You have to do something significant or be in the mix at a major level to get them to come there. And so what Deion Sanders has done at Jackson State has been significant, from the recruits that he's been able to sign, the way that they've been dominating the league, to the media attention and the social media attention he's been given. I mean, they've been all over the place, but it's not what we have to understand from an HBCU standpoint is it's not charity. It's not equal to everything. It's just about winning and losing.
yeah.
And that's all life is about. This is football more so than anything. It's just about winning and losing. You either have a great program or you don't. And right now, Deion has an incredibly great program. They've also went to North Dakota State,
Yeah.
who has the flagship program in the FCS division. But if you're a big time Power 5 school and you don't play well, they don't just say, well, you get college game day.
Right.
It's your turn. You don't get a turn unless you stand up and you win. So if I was talking to another HBCU head coach, I'm not going to say his name, but
Nah, you good.
what I was telling him, you just got to win. And when you're the coach of a program, winning is your responsibility. Recruiting, the product that you put on the field, and you can't knock Deion for being who he is and turning it around the way he did, because you also had an opportunity to beat him, and the other teams have failed to do that to this point.
Right. And it's funny because only 5 teams beat them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and after that, it hasn't been, it's been record setting right now. To me, I'm looking at it like this: Jackson State is the hottest thing going. Been the hottest thing going for the last year and a half. Because we gotta realize the funny thing is the crazy thing is he got hired during COVID year in 2020. He didn't become the official head coach until 2021. Then we had a spring season. So for what he done between spring and then spring season of 2021, then fall of last season, then what he doing this year is, I don't think no other coach has ever done something like that. No coach. And I don't want to say in the history of college football, but I'm just saying, like, in the last, to me, in the last couple of 20 years has done anything like this.
He's been special, man, but he's doing what they brought him in there to do. You got to give respect to the Jackson State administration for making that type of hire, right? Because everybody else also had an opportunity to do the same thing, but Jackson State went out and got it done, and so you have to pat them on the back for that.
Mm-hmm. And man, and I'm looking at stats. Jackson State is on stand to have one of the, even though we do lead the FCS in all pretty much a majority of defensive categories. The one thing that sits like right there is the actual scoring defense. Like, look at it, with 8 games in overall, teams only scored 71 points on us.
Mm-hmm.
At 8 games, that is below almost 9 points a game. And I realized people tell me, well, they remind me of the 2000 Ravens. I'm like, well, yeah, you can say they remind me of the 2000 Ravens.
Whoa.
I can't say it, but
we always go too far. We always go too far, right? Us black people, we always go a little bit too far. We not doing that. All right, we're not doing that today. We're not comparing nobody to the 2000 Ravens today. Defense. We not doing that today. Come on, Doc.
I mean, look, as far as college goes, I don't see no other defense I could compare them to. I mean, unless you're talking about like overall football, unless you're talking
Have you ever
about like
watched Alabama play before?
yeah, I watched Alabama.
Come
I
on.
watch Alabama. I hate Alabama because I like Tennessee.
Oh,
I'm a
well,
Tennessee
if
fan.
you like Tennessee over Alabama, you've been part of some hard losses, man.
Yes,
I know this
I
is
have
ridiculous.
suffered watching them beat us for almost 15 years.
Mhm.
You get the joy to see us, even though we ain't had Tennessee Volunteers ain't got no defense whatsoever. But just to see the joy of actually winning that game, hands down, that was one of the best things I've seen. But I've seen Alabama has some good defenses. Nebraska back in the 80s, early 90s, with Coach Osborne headlining that black shirt defense. I will say some, Miami, but I'm not gonna put that right there. But I was saying, as far as comparisons to with the scoring defense, I was just comparison. I would say the 2000 Ravens defense. I was looking at the 85 Bears.
What?
Hey, that's just a comparison. I'm saying as far as scoring wise.
Listen,
I'm
man.
not saying. I mean, I'm not saying as far as all around play. I'm just saying scoring wise.
Listen. Let's not even worry about the comparisons.
Yeah.
Let's just worry about the fact that Jackson State right now is playing dominant football. They've got a bunch of great kids. They got a bunch of great coaches, and they are doing a remarkable job defensively. They definitely in the league of their own right now.
And I just feel like somebody stop them and stop that train from rolling. They're just gonna keep trying to roll over everybody.
Right.
How do you feel like Shedor's maturation from his freshman to sophomore year? How you feel like what do you think about that?
I think he's made incredible strides, especially in understanding what they have been trying to do offensively. He's spreading the ball around. He's mastering their offense. They hired an offensive coordinator that was on staff with Mike Leach at Mississippi State. Mm-hmm. And I think that was huge for Shedeur and his development. And, man, he's been having a really, really special year. And when I watched him play, he looks like he's in complete command of what they want to do offensively. And that's what you want to see out of your quarterback. You want to see a guy that can go to his second and his third read. You want to see a guy who has some escapability when the run is there, but he's not looking to run, before he goes through his progression. And I think that Shedeur has really mastered the quarterback position, and he's only going to get better.
Sean asked another question. He said, who you think is going to be the next big college coach on the FCS level to move? Not named Coach Prime.
You have to look again at North Dakota State. And you have to look there. Also, a guy that's very intriguing to a lot of programs has been Nick Hill, the coach at SIU Carbondale. He's been getting a lot of attention over the last several years. He's chose to stay in Carbondale so far, but there's always some diamonds at that level that you find. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the show, let's talk about some of the guys who came from that level.
Yeah.
Jim Tressel, Paul Johnson, Lance Leipold now at Kansas. All of those guys started off at that level, head coaching. Dino Babers at Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
Started off at Eastern Illinois. David Clawson at Wake Forest.
Yep.
He started off at SCS at Richmond. That's why I tell people all the time when they get so emotional about Deion, this is not a black or white thing. This is just a winners and losers thing. This is just winning, and it's money. And
Right.
despite the fact everybody say, well, Dion don't need no money. Dion, you name me somebody that don't need $80 million. You show me somebody that don't need $80 million, right? I guarantee you that Dion will take $80 million. You name me somebody that don't need $80 million. I don't care who it is. $80 million. You need that, right?
That is
You
true.
need that 80 million. So it's just like the at the end of the day, you just want to be prepared for what's next. When something great happens, you want it to keep happening. So you need to be prepared to deal with the situation.
And his whole thing, and it when I watched the interviews, especially the one he did on 60 Minutes, he when he say he's good with the money, he's good having money. He's not, people understand it's not about the money to him. He's worried about his assistants. He wants his assistants to be good.
I mean, that's also part of it, for sure. You're definitely talking about a major raise for the assistant coaches, but don't be fooled and don't be emotional.
Right.
$80 million is $80 million, man. And it ain't nobody on this chat that ain't taking $80 million.
Hey, you better talk about Jimbo Fisher.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, coaching, you as a fan of a team, man, you got to be really careful not to fall in love with your coach. You need to fall in love with your program.
Yeah.
And your hope should always be that the people who care about your program, the administrators and decision makers, you want to make sure that they always are prepared, to move in the direction they need to move in to keep the program moving in the right direction.
Right.
So people, all people hating on us, they don't want HBCUs to have nice things and all of that. I mean, at the end of the day, that may be true. You may have a couple haters out there here and there, but you don't. But none of them are the important decision makers.
Right.
Again, the people that's writing the checks not hating. They don't care. They
Right.
just care about winning and losing and the bottom line. I'm not talking about the guys that talk to you in the barbershop and all of that. Don't nobody care what they think. I'm talking about the people that
ones that
are
writing
actually
checks.
making decisions and writing checks. They're gonna go to wherever they got to pluck the next great coach from. Lance Leipold was coaching Division III football at Wisconsin Whitewater.
Oh yeah.
Right? And they went and found him at that level. So everybody's surveying winners, and right now Dion is a winner, and that's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you really think about it, I know a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people have been talking about how Benedict, on the Division II level, have been balling, especially with their head, having their head coach Chennis Berry, the way how he turned their program around, and then how he got, then you got a Virginia Union with Henry Frazier III, who's done it before with Prairie View when Prairie View was still trying to come out of the doldrums, and he revived that program around before he turned it over to Eric Dooley. Nobody, people talk about that, but some people don't get. I feel like they don't get their just due, and it's coaches out there that need to get their just due. Like those two need to get their just due, especially for but for Benedict, small private school in South Carolina, in the way that he's been running that program, like it surprised me because I didn't even know too much about Benedict. I knew about Benedict as a school, but I didn't know too much about as far as the football program and stuff like that. And now it's like they're on top of the SIAC, and I don't think that train is about to stop until when they get to the playoffs. And now that's the only shaky thing. That's the only thing I worry about when they get to the playoffs, because I feel like they're going to play another HBCU in the playoffs, and one got to win and one got to lose. So that's just how I see it right there. But I want to give shout out to those schools right there. You know, those coaches, those schools right there, because they're doing the damn thing. Also, another coach I kind of want to give a shout out to is Bubba McDowell at Prairie View. For him to take over the job from Eric Dooley, everybody already know Dooley was pretty much primed to go to Southern after the SWAC championship game. He, you know, I don't know if he told the kids he was going over there, but he was primed to go to Southern. They was already had him on the radar. But for Bubba McDowell to take Prairie View and to basically keep that train rolling, I think he's done a hell of a job too. He's done a hell of a job, and he's been at Prairie View for maybe like over 10 years. And as a defensive coordinator, then now you turn around and you have.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm looking at Sonic Boom's comment.
Okay.
Nobody in the media is invested in Prime leaving. Nobody get anything out of Prime leaving. Get out your feelings. Right? Get out. The man is winning, and so he got opportunity. That's it. No, it's no investment in Coach Prime leaving. Nobody getting paid more money. Nobody getting told to say anything. The man is winning. If any other coach dominates the SWAC the same way that he dominates the SWAC, they're gonna also get opportunities to leave. Get out your feelings, man. All right, you sounding real sensitive right now.
But and I'm gonna tell you like this though, it's not no more Eddie Robinson like we saw when he was at Grambling.
Those days over.
Those are days are over. You gotta realize Eddie Robinson was at Grambling for 57 years. You had a coach Paterno that was at Penn State for almost 60 years. You had Tom Osborne who was at Nebraska for over 25. You had
the game not like that no more.
Yeah, it's not like that no more, y'all. These coaches is trying to get that bag, y'all. And I'm gonna tell you just like this. Y'all see how Jimbo Fisher got that bag at Texas A&M, and they are in dumpster fire right now.
And he ain't gonna get to stay.
He ain't gonna get to stay, but that buyout gonna be real nice for him.
He gonna be satisfied with it, with the way he lives. I mean, even if the media never spoke again on Deion leaving, it wouldn't change the facts that he's gonna get offered a record-breaking contract because of the success he had.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the game, man. It's just the truth. And it's no hate. You got to understand this. Antonio Doyle, that plays for Jackson State,
was at Texas A&M.
That's my godson. Okay, he played for me. If anybody want Prime not to leave, I want him to be here to coach my godson that I took down there and handed to him, right?
Oh.
But that's the reality of the situation. That he's not in a position to where he's not going to get offered big time jobs. And I was talking to Antonio about that last night on how to handle that and how to handle himself in that situation. I hope he's there so he can coach Antonio, but I also understand this business. Yeah. Right? I understand what's going on in this business and how it works. At the end of the day, that's just what it is. And you cannot like it. You can get mad. You can yell at me in my DMs and you can call me a sucker and you can say I'm hating and I want him to go and all of that. Don't nobody know what I want. Kevin Coleman and Antonio Doyle are my guys. Those are my guys. All right. I want Prime to coach him forever, but I know that that's not likely.
And I feel like this, like I said, most of us that's went to Jackson State or Jackson State alums, y'all know we got to make sure we have a contingency plan. We got to have something in place I don't think I think Ashley is already thinking of something because it's funny. Realize who he got when he was an AD, especially when he was at Prairie View. He the one who hired Eric Dooley.
Mm-hmm.
He the one who hired Willie Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
Then he gets to Jackson. He fired the old head coach. He brings in Prime.
Mm-hmm.
He had Prime on his radar from the jump when he
Mm-hmm.
left out of Prairie View. Because he saw what Prime was doing in the high school ranks as an offensive coordinator. He saw what Trinity Christian Cedar Hill was doing in the private school, high school, private school ranks. You know what I'm saying? Them winning state championships every year.
Mm-hmm.
How can we get this down here in Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, let's just hire the coach. Let's hire him.
And the recruits that were able to come with him. He was also the head coach in the Under Armour All-American games. Which,
Yep.
you know, all of those things matter.
Yep. It did, you know, like I said. And it, like I told him, the crazy thing is Prime was the offensive coordinator. The head coach was Andre Hart.
Yep, absolutely. A lot of people don't know that.
No, the DB coach is Kevin Mathis. So who he, you know, and Andre Hart took that program over from another ex NFL running back, Avion Kaysen.
Mm-hmm.
Avion Kaysen was down there, was in Cedar Hill, coaching and, you know, trying to churn out championships.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, that was not just given to him, handed to him. Like he had his dude right there in place.
Mm-hmm.
He knew he was gonna take over, and when he took over, it's like they didn't stop. So what do Prime do? I'm gonna bring my dudes from the high school ranks. I got connections. You already got a Mike Markinson. Who he connected to? Houston Nutt.
Mm-hmm.
The right Reverend Houston Nutt used to coach at Arkansas and at Ole Miss. All right.
Also formerly was the coach at Murray State.
In Murray State.
FCS coach that moved up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the game.
Where you get Coach Weeks from? You got to have a connection somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Coach. You know, Alan Ricard. Shoot, both the NFL buddy. Dennis Thurman was the defensive coordinator for Rex Ryan with the Jets. He was the position coordinator. He was a position coach with Baltimore when Deion was at Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the connections. It's the connections. Then this year, Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer was his position coach when he was with the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
You foster a relationship like that. And then Deion is, for him to be so cerebral, is, you know, it's a thinking man. Who his, like, we talk about this all the time. His coaching tree, he came from a coaching tree, even though he didn't coach with this man. Bobby Bowden was his inspiration. His high school coach was his inspiration. Mickey Andrews, the defensive coordinator from Florida State, was sure enough an inspiration to him. He took in all that. Jerry Jones when it comes to the marketing. Barry Switzer when it came to somewhat coaching, being more of a CEO than to be an actual head coach. Even you take George Seifert when he was in San Francisco. Jerry Rice he took in a whole bunch of people. It's like you putting in gumbo. You got to get that roux ready. You got to get it right. And when that roux is right, that's what you come out with. That's the reason why he's dominating right now. He's not, you know, he don't have to really coach. He's giving his coordinators and assistants the ability to coach the game.
Right.
Because in the end, somebody's gonna be looking at them and say, can you lead the team? Can you lead a team? Can you recruit? That's the first thing they're gonna ask you right there. Off top. Can you recruit? Where can you recruit? How do you go about recruiting? You know, so you got young top coaches like TC Taylor. I went to school with him at Jackson. Um, Homegrown kid. You know, I feel like he'd be primed to be a good head coach in the FCS ranks, or even in a group of five ranks. We don't know. We
And
don't know that.
we gotta continue to get a lot of these young brothers exposure. And I think that's another thing that Dion has been able to do. He's been able to open up some doors and some eyes, to some of the things that are going on in the league.
Hmm. And that's a thing that we need to have right there. Is nothing wrong when somebody's doing something that is impactful for not just your school but for everybody.
Mhm.
Because just think about this: you having the XFL. If Dion won at Jackson State, Dwayne the Rock Johnson and Danny Garcia does not come calling to Jackson State to host a showcase on campus.
Mhm.
You don't see, and then you don't see those big time. You don't see those scouts. You might see them, but you don't see them coming to your practice all the time.
Right.
You don't get a John Lynch, who's a GM with the 49ers, to come to your practice all the time. Or you don't get a Warren Sapp to come talk to your
You
team.
get
You
them.
don't get
You get them
none of
because you
that.
got Dion. You get them
Yeah,
because you got Dion.
you don't get none of that. let's I put it like this, people. Let's just live in the limelight of what we got right now. And if he takes another job, he a grown man. He has a family to think about. And that's the main thing. He got a family to think about. But for right now, we got him. Let's enjoy him while he here. Uh, let's enjoy Carl while he here on the show too, because I I hit him up on, what was it, Thursday
Yeah.
night. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, man, look. In fact, your last week was your birthday, so happy belated birthday, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, But yeah, I hit him up Thursday night. I was like, yeah, man, I got a show. I do podcasts. I know I'm up and coming, and he obliged. So, and I thank him for that because
Man,
you
I'm
know,
glad to be here, man. Anything that I can do to help, I got to get you on my show too at some point.
oh yeah,
You
we can
know,
do that. We can do that.
and so we definitely get that done as we continue to watch how some of this stuff unfolds. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we want the SWAC and we want HBCUs, the MEAC, the CIAA, the SI. We want them to be successful. It's
Yep.
important for our kids. It's important for upcoming coaches who need those opportunities. And we need to continue to shine as bright of a light as we can on the situation. Now, when that light gets shined, somebody gonna get seen,
Yep.
and some opportunities are gonna come from that. But that's okay. That gives the next guys an opportunity to come in and continue to build.
Yep. Yeah, my boy. Yeah, I'm friends with Ken Clark too, man. He's something. He was a cool dude too. I was like, yeah, I'm
That's
gonna
my
have to put
guy,
him on.
man. I love Ken, man.
I had to put him on the show. Me and Ken, we real cool and everything. So, man, I thank you for coming on to the show. This might not even be the last time you come on to the show. Shoot,
No, just holler at me. Just holler at me, man. I'll
I
be more than
got
happy
you. I
to.
hit you up, man.
All right, y'all be good.
All right. But yeah, everybody, he ain't a hater, y'all. So let's just get that out the way. He's not a hater. I just think he's a realist. Carl Reed is a realist, and it's a good thing because he said he put me on this show. I love to go on the show. Hey, it's a good thing. But things going on this week. Yeah, everybody know Jack State, Texas Southern, Houston. Trying to see if I'll be down there this weekend. If not, I'll cover the game. I'll watch it and I'll cover the game, the post game on Saturday night. Uh, Other than that, Kind of got some stuff in store, and we got Tuesday HBCU tonight. So me and Brian and Sean, the fellas, will be on there tomorrow. Kind of give me some ideas of what we need to talk about tomorrow. Also Wednesday, I'm not gonna, Wednesday I don't have no show on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Just depending on how I feel and everything. I'll try to do a show on Thursday with the previews of the next for week 10, and then Friday, I love Friday, so we gonna be on it this week. But thank you, man. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Chop it up Tuesdays. Oh yeah, we can do it just like that. Just give me something to run with. Subject, we can run with it. And we gonna stay on subject. All right. We're gonna stay on subject. But man, that was a good interview I did. That was a good interview. Great interview, y'all. Y'all came with some good questions. And he ain't back down for none of them questions either. I like that. We keep up that energy right there. But until then, I'm gonna be doing my family time. Y'all make sure that y'all tune in. Make sure that you like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't gotten anybody to subscribe to the channel or to share it, you need to. And let them know that we do the damn thing up in here, y'all. But in the meantime, in between time, y'all have a good spooky night tonight because it's Halloween. All right. Make sure you get all the candy and stuff for your kids. Don't be eating all that candy out of their basket. Y'all watch Halloween Ends. Either a bride check something that's got something to do with Halloween and being scary, okay? But until then, y'all see me back on here tomorrow. I'm your boy Doc Holiday. This is HBCU OverDrive Live, where HBCUs matter. We are out until tomorrow. Peace out.